Hello and welcome again to this C# course, and this is the second video of four, I think, yeah, videos about C#. And in this video we're going to look at logical and conditional operators. So let's start. So last time we've been looking at how to create a program that writes text on the screen. That was one of the things. We've also looked how we can read text from the screen, and then how we can manipulate that and show it to the user. But today we're going to look at how logic can be used in C# and how it then can be expressed using C#. So basically that's the main topic for today. And in the beginning we are going to focus on if statements. And this is so here are some of the relational operators. So we have equals sign, which stands for equal. We have not equal. We have less than. We have bigger than. We have less than or equal to, or bigger than or equal to. These are the basic ones. And if you have the reference booklet, you can find them on page 3. You have some description of these relational operators under the relational operator heading. The first program we're going to do is going to be called age checker. Basically, we're going to ask the user how old he or she is, and we're going to do different kinds of operations depending on the user's choice. And this program, as you can see, consists of two parts. Either if the age is less than 18, then we will write out a specific sentence, and if it's not, then we're going to do something else, and at the end we're going to pass the application. So let's start. And let's start by copying this code. And if you have the reference booklet, you can always find this code, and I think this, yeah, in the code reference at page 7, if you look at reference 4. So let's open the reference booklet and copy the code here. Copy. Now let's put this into our application. So let's see. We press the compile button, and now we see that basically that we're going to see still alcohol is not healthy, drink juice instead. That's the sense that we're going to see. And why is that the case? That's interesting. Because, and we could have guessed that by looking at this code, because we see that age is 19, and of course 19 is less than 18. Therefore, it's going to execute the stuff that is below else. If, for instance, if I would change, now if we go back to the application, if I would change this to 17, for instance, I would get something different. I would get, "You're too young to drink alcohol." That's the first sentence. That's because if this condition, if this expression is true, then we're going to do this. If it's not, we're going to do what's provided below here. And it's not usually the case that you do something here, and then if this C# compiler sees that there is no such else, so if we would have just removed this and typed 19 instead, we wouldn't seen anything, because there is nothing to do if that statement is false. But that's about it. So now we're going to look at statements and expressions. I've been talking about statements and expressions, and basically what statement is, that's just an instruction to the computer. That's what a statement is. And it's a method of a method is a series of statements. So basically, if we look at our code here, if we look at our code, this thing here, where I've in the beginning of the previous video I've showed that this is where we're going to focus most of the time at this particular method. So void main is actually a method, and each of these is a statement. So it consists of statements. So you can think of it as a paragraph. The method is a paragraph, and each line here is a sentence. Really logical, I think, to do that kind of comparison. So statements end with a semicolon. That's really important in C#. If you don't end a statement with a semicolon, the compiler will throw an error. And if that's the case, you can't compile your application, so you won't see any results. So that's really important, and I think that's something that usually might be the case why the program doesn't work. And also, statements are executed in order they appear. So like in a book, depending on how you read it, it's actually really important to read it from in the way the book is written. And in this case, C# reads from top to bottom. It's like when we read from left to right or right to left, depending on the book. But here, basically, all the statements are going to be executed from top to right to bottom. So it's important to place them in the correct place. Otherwise, we won't expect things we want to do. Now let's look at expressions. And expressions are statements that produce value. So like when I wrote, let's see, and basically they typically involve an operator. It's like, but that's not required though. So that's just one of the conditions, but it's not required. And we can assign the expression the value to a new variable or test it. That's one of the usage of expressions. And I would like to show you a code snippet. And here we basically see something now that should be familiar to us. We see an if statement, we see else if, and we see else. Really typical structure for a program. And now we're going to, the red color is an expression and the yellow color is a statement. So I'd like you to think about it. What is a statement? What is an expression? In this code, of course. Okay, done? Then let's look at the answer. Obviously, the expression here, the first expression, is age less than 3. That's the first expression, because it compares and it will return a value. Either it's true or it's false. Yellow is a statement. It says something, and as you can see, it ends with a semicolon. So that's one of the signs that it is a statement. Later on, we have an expression, and we have, because it returns either it's true or false, we have a statement, and we have a statement again. And I think, I forgot to add that this is actually a statement as well. Int age equals 19, that's a statement as well. And we could try to look at this code, or basically if you open reference booklet and look at page 8 and reference 5, there you'll be able to see this code and see how it will work. And depending on what value you put into age, you will get different results. So why not just try it out? Why not see what will happen? So what I meant was to look at reference 5 and to copy this code. Copy this code and plug it into our application. So now age is 19, and what we will get, serve y. That's because we see that it's an adult. If we would just change this to, say, 15, we would get serve juice. And if we would change this to even something smaller, like 2, we would get serve milk. 3 different options. So basically, if we now return to the presentation, first, what the program will do is to look at the if statement. Later on, we're going to, so if that's true, that means the condition age is less than 3, if that's true, we're going to write out serve milk. If it's not, we're going to search and see, are there some else ifs? So if the if statement isn't satisfied, is there something else to do? And it appears to be the case that in our example. So the second statement, or the second expression we want to validate, is age is less than 18. If that would be true, we would write out serve juice. We would do that, execute that statement. If it's not, once again, we are either going to look for some more else ifs, or we're going to look for an else, if that's not true. And in this case, if none of these are satisfied, we're going to write out what's written in else. So we're going to execute that statement. If statements inside another if statement. It's also possible to do that in C#. So for instance, I have a temperature program, and once again, if you like, you can see this code on page 6. No, on page 8, and if you look at reference 6, you'll be able to... No, that's the wrong example. No, I meant actually, if you look at page 9, there you will be able to see this at reference 8. So here, basically, what this program will do, it says, basically, if the temperature is less than 10, then we're going to execute this block here. We're going to we're going to execute some of these. So then we are going to check, is the temperature less than 0? If that's the case, we're going to do something. If that's not the case, we're going to do something else. And if none of these, so if the original if statement, which basically I mean the first if statement is false, we're going to do the else. That's if statements in other if statements. But I would like to look at something really cool that you can do with this example. And actually, you can also do this with the age example as well. But I'm going to do this with the statement with if statement in another if statement example. So why not do that? Open the reference booklet on page 9. And here you actually have 2 different kinds of codes, but I'm going to choose this code. And something that's probably going to be something new to you, or at least I think so, because now I'm basically what I'm doing is I'm copying code from the reference booklet. What's might be new for you, I don't think anything is new, not in this example. So let's try to execute. Temperature is -1, so we'll take a winter jacket. No, what I meant will be new to you is if you look at reference 9, I think. No, that's not. If you would add, so if you look at page 9, if you would add in ref 7, but that's the H example, or like H controller. If you would instead do this here, so here in front of int temperature, I'm going to type convert to int32, and you don't need to understand what this does, but and why I'm doing that. But basically, what this is going to do is it's going to read line. So every time you're going to put something into integers, or like int, you have to use convert to int32, because C# is strongly typed, and it requires you to convert it to integer before you can use it. What I did here, and really important now, do not forget to type console write line and ask the user what is the temperature today. We're going to ask such a simple question, and depending on the answer we'll get different results. So why not just look at this example? So what will happen? What is the temperature today? And I'm probably going to have the code open. Here's the code, here's the application. So if I would put something less than 10 but not less than 0, so that would be 5, I think, yeah. It's called take a warm jacket instead. And now it's going to close. Let's launch it again. And now in this case I can try to enter 25. 25 sounds good. No jacket required. So now you can see that you can interact with the application really at some point. I think it's really nice here, because now you don't need to change the code. You don't need to sit as I did in the previous example with the H controller, as with this example. You don't need to sit and all the time change the H variable. But you can always, and in this example it will work as well. You could just type what I've written here, convert to int32, and use the readline statement, because I don't think it's something new. We know that console readline will save text from the screen into memory, but we have to manipulate the text a bit, or like convert it. But otherwise I think this increases the interactivity of the program, of course. Now let's close this application again. So this was the if statement example. Now I would like to show you some of the statements. No, that's the wrong example. I'm going to look at logical operators inside C#, and you can always find these at page 3. And if you look at logical operators, you're going to see all of these that I'm having in this slide, so you have them as a reference if you'd like. So you have ands, ors, XOR, exclusive OR, you have inclusive OR, you have not. Those are some of the basics in C#. And you can see that you can do a lot of stuff, especially with not. For instance, if you put an equal sign, not equal to, and that will basically show you that, yeah, they're not equal. Like another way of writing not equal. So you have, if you write this exclamation mark and equal sign, that will give you not equal to. Let's now look at logic inside C#. And I think we've been dealing with this a lot now, but I've basically rewritten the application that I had before, this example with the temperature, but now, as you can see, the code is real short. What it consists of is one if statement actually. So if and else. So what we're going to do else. Basically, instead of writing two ifs, we can always do one if statement. So here, if the temperature is less than 0, and remember what this two symbols represented, that is and temperature is less than 10, then we're going to do execute that statement. And once again, I would like to refer to the reference booklet. And if you like, you can look at, let's see, if you look at the reference booklet on page 10, reference 10, you will see this code, so you can experiment with this bit, but this works, trust me. So you can just try it out and change some information here and see what happens. I think, yeah. So now basically what we have been working with so far was conditional operators and other logical operators. But in this is the second part of this tutorial, and I think I'm going to break here. But in the third video, I was mistaken by saying that it will be 4 lessons. It's probably most likely going to be 5 because I'm going to split it up here. But basically, what we've been working with is the second part of this C# reference that I wrote. So if you like it, you can go to page 6, and if you look at preparation 2, preparation 2 is found. Let's scroll up a bit. So if you like to, you can always do these kind of questions. You can always practice and see if you are able to do those questions. Otherwise, you're welcome to comment this video, and I will help you as quickly as I can if you have any questions about these questions. But it would be really nice if you could solve them on your own, because that's the thing. You have to be able to solve those questions. But if they're too hard, please comment and I will see what I can do. But thank you very much, and in next video we are going to look at for loops, which I didn't have time in this video, unfortunately. But next video we're going to focus on for loops, while loops, and do whiles. Thank you very much, and have a great day.